Alright, we are live. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot of stuff going on with college basketball today, or this past week. A lot. This week has been a wild week, and it's honestly, this season has been one of the most craziest seasons that I have ever seen in college basketball. We have seen teams go down. Let's just go back to Monday, you guys. If my computer would work. 1 minute, you guys. Computer just doesn't want to work. But we're gonna go back to Monday. Let's do a little review real quick before we get into other subjects or other topics that I gotta talk to you guys about, because there was a lot of stuff going on this week in college basketball, and it was a lot to talk about, honestly. Like, we saw 1 and 2 seed go down in the week. Purdue lost to Ohio State, and then UConn lost to Creighton, and UConn didn't just lose to Creighton. They got destroyed by Creighton. It was bad. Let's go to Sunday, because we streamed Saturday. Sunday, we saw two upsets. We saw number 2 Purdue, go down to Ohio State, and they lost by 4. Eddie did his thing. He had 22 points, 13 rebounds, 3 blocks. That kicks him off of the number 1 overall seed, or did it? Because we see, I think it was Wednesday, but let's go to Monday. We'll talk Florida Atlantic. They're out of the top 25 now. Kind of expected that. They're not the team of last year, but I think if they get a good spot in the tournament, right now, let's look at Florida Atlantic. Let's see where this is the new Bracketology. We're going to get into this in a minute. I just want to see where Florida Atlantic is ranked right now, or where they're seeded to play. We'll get into this in a little bit. Am I blind, or did I miss Florida? FAU. There it is. They're 8 seed, and they play TCU right now. They will not make it past. I think they may be able to beat TCU, but that's a hard matchup. That's going to be a great game, honestly. But then let's go to what happened Monday. We saw number 6 Iowa State go to number 2 Houston. And I thought this actually was a great game. It lived up to the hype. But Houston proved to me that they are a real team, because I didn't really believe in Houston. I'm not going to lie to you. I still don't really believe in Houston. But by beating Iowa State, that shows me that they are a real team. And Iowa State, I was in my head like, okay, maybe Iowa State is for real. But they can't beat Houston. They can't beat these big teams right now. That's the problem. Yes, they went down there, but this is crunch time. You got to be able to beat Houston. If you want to show me that you can make it far in the tournament, you got to beat Houston. And they didn't beat Houston, especially on the road. That would have been a huge win. But they lost to them. So now my question is, let's see what Iowa State can do. Because it's big. And then we see Tuesday. Tuesday is the day that we saw the number 1 UConn, who has been flawless all this year. They have 2 losses, but they played amazingly all year. There's been like the hiccups in the games. They were good games. They got beat by 19 points to 15 Creighton. 19 points. Creighton, wow. Creighton did make a run last year in the tournament. Are we going to see another one this year? That was really impressive what they did to UConn. They are 20-7. Let's look at Creighton. Let's see what Creighton has done this year. Let's see who they have lost to. Let's just dissect Creighton real quick. If ESPN will work. We go. They beat Iowa. They beat Loyola. But they lost to Colorado State. I mean, Colorado State is going to make the tournament. But that is a team. If they can beat UConn like that, I get that was beginning of the year. If they can beat UConn like that, then I don't expect them. But then we go see lately. Let's start in the Big East Conference right here. Let's just go to right here. They lost to UConn. Lost to Butler and Providence. Beat everybody else. Those are two bad losses, but they're on a win streak now. And that one now, if they win out the rest of the year, they beat Seton Hall, they beat St. John's, they beat Villanova. All those teams, Villanova, next 4 out. St. John's was just up there. Butler's right there. Providence right there. Seton Hall's right there. They play St. John's, Seton Hall, Marquette, and Villanova. All these 3 games matter where we're gonna see. Is it Seton Hall beats them? Then I don't know. This year has been so confusing for college basketball. I don't know who is real, who is not. Like, you're seeing these teams do this. Like UConn, I thought UConn was not gonna lose again. Then they go into Creighton and they get destroyed in Nebraska. They get destroyed, and I didn't expect to see that. I saw a graphic today, and it was college basketball. They're 7 games off from the most upsets between ranked opponents and non-ranked opponents. Like matchups, they're 7 games off from breaking the season record of most upsets in a year. 7 games off. We still have. Every team still has at least 4 more games to go to 5 more games. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that's gonna get broken. But is Creighton the team to look out for? I think Creighton is. They do put up great points. They have a pretty good defense. They held UConn's offense to only 66. So they have it. But now let's see if Creighton can keep going with that momentum. They play St. John's, I believe, tomorrow. If they beat St. John's, okay. Then they have Seton Hall. If they beat Seton Hall, that's a big win for them because Seton Hall's a bubble team. They can knock Seton Hall out. So right now, Seton Hall, they're last 4 in. They're one of the last teams to make it into the tournament. So they can knock them out. Then we saw Tennessee go to Missouri, beat them, and it was closer than it should have been. They went into halftime down by 3, but they put up 46 in the second. But that's something that Tennessee's problem is that I feel like every year Tennessee is not a first half team. They're a second half team every year. And it beats them in the tournament because they get a team that gets hot and they stay hot going into that second half. And yes, Tennessee gets hot, but that team can counter it because they're still hot. Then we got BYU versus Baylor. BYU beats Baylor 78-71. Baylor's been an up and down team this year. I feel like they've been ranked high and then they have ranked out of the top 15, if I'm correct, at one point. I just think that I don't really think Baylor's going to make it far in the tournament. I don't see that. I don't believe in Baylor. Then you got St. Mary's being San Francisco. St. Mary's another team. They probably get upset first round. And we saw Utah State beat San Diego State. A huge win for Utah State. As you guys know, we're in crunch time now. So who is real and who is not? That is the question that we're all asking. Who's the real ones? Is UConn lost Purdue? I don't believe in Purdue. I don't really, is Houston or is UConn still the favorite? In my opinion, UConn should still be the favorite. But I got to talk about something real quick. That Duke looks good. Duke looks really good. I mean, let's just take a look at Duke real quick. If they end the season with the win against North Carolina, yes, I know North Carolina is falling. They're falling pretty fast. But they only have 4 losses on the year, you guys. Or 5. Oh yeah, they forgot they lost to Pitt. They are on a tear right now. They play Wake Forest today at 2 p.m. They already beat Wake Forest 77-69. Wake Forest right now is the first team out. This is a must-win for Wake Forest. And Duke could end their hopes. The last 3 games for Duke, they have 5 games left. Wake Forest, Louisville, Virginia, at North Carolina State, and versus North Carolina. 4 out of these 5 games are huge. NC State, big game. Virginia, big game. North Carolina, big game. At Wake Forest is a big game. Duke wins out, and they win out pretty good. They show like they can do it. Is Duke a team to talk about? But it also is Duke. They have had these teams where they've been a number 1 seed, make it to the round of 32. They play the 9 seed, and they lose. They're a 2 seed, and they play somebody like Leahy. That actually happened. They played like Leahy, and they lost to Leahy. It's Duke. But will this be a year that it changed? Will their coach, I forgot his name, it's like Schaefer or something, something like that. Is this going to be his breakout year? Is this going to be the year that we see Duke break through that mold? And I think you can see Duke break through that mold, but it matters which Duke team shows up. I feel like that's with every team this year. Whatever team shows up is going to win it all. Whatever team shows up in March, that is the team that we have seen. Like with Auburn. If we see Auburn's team show up, I don't really see nothing really stopping Auburn. North Carolina, if I see North Carolina, the Tar Heels, if I see them be the team that they were in the beginning of the year, the first half of the season pretty much, and some of the second, no one's stopping North Carolina. They have a great team. Another team that no one's really talking about is Arizona. Let me go to the rankings real quick. I'm going to show you guys. Let's go to Arizona real quick, you guys. Arizona they're 20-6. They just lost to Washington State. And that's a team that I'm going to get into in a minute. Is Arizona real? If you look at the teams they beat, they can beat Washington State. Washington State, for some reason, has Arizona's number. They beat them both times this year. At Washington State and in Arizona. So, is Arizona for real? So that's where we got to look at, dissect, and see the rest of the season. Washington today at 2 p.m. Arizona State, Oregon, UCLA, and USC. Low-key crappy. I mean, Washington State was their last challenging game, in my opinion. Like, you come up here, you see UCLA is 14-12. Oregon's their other challenge. Is Oregon in the tournament? Oh, so that's Oregon needs to win. Oregon needs to win out. Wow, I did not. Yeah, Oregon needs to win out. Oregon plays. Oh, they can do that. Oregon wins out. Could they make tournament? They play tonight at 7 p.m. And they play. Okay, they could. I mean, they don't score a lot. That's their problem. They 118th rank for scoring is not good at all. At all. But could Oregon do it? Oregon could make the tournament if they win out. If they win out. Last time they played Arizona, they lost. They play them again at Arizona. So let's see if they can do it. If they can beat them, then that's what matters. But right now, it's looking like only 2 Pac-12 teams. Alright, let's take a dive into the bracket now. We see Northwestern, Nebraska, Virginia, and Nevada. The last 4 byes. And then we see Seton Hall, Providence, Gonzaga, Texas A&M. In the last 4 in. So the last 4 in games, let's just take a... We would see Merrimack, Norfolk State. I don't know much about those 2 teams. South Dakota State, Grambling State. I don't know much about those 2 teams. But I do know the next 2 games. Seton Hall versus Gonzaga. That is a great game. Then you got Providence, Texas A&M. Another great game. Will Providence... this Big East this year... The conference to talk about this year is the Big East. And the Mountain West. But more the Big East right now because there's so much more teams on the bubble. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 teams on the bubble. And St. John's was on the bubble too. You have 4 teams on the bubble. And they all going to play each other. Let's look at Seton Hall. I bet you Seton Hall plays Villanova or Providence. They play Butler. Butler is also on right there. First 4 out. Then they play UConn. Then they play Creighton. Seton Hall, they have, except their last game of the year, which is DePaul, their next 4 games, they have to win. I mean, if they beat Butler and beat Creighton, but then lose to UConn and then they win out, they go 4 out of 5, they'll make the tournament. But say they lose two of those games, they lose Creighton and UConn, but they beat Butler and Villanova, I think they could make it. But say they lose to Butler, if they lose 3 out of their next games, they're out. But even 1 loss is killer for them. There's so much, the field is so open this year that I'm still confused on how the hell Villanova is in the conversation. They are 11-loss team. When you have teams out there like Oregon, who are 18-8, they deserve that, or they deserve that bid over Villanova. That's where I just get confused. It just doesn't make sense. Then let's go to Providence's schedule real quick. See how hard theirs is. Providence plays Marquette, Villanova, Georgetown, and UConn. Georgetown, easy win. Then the other 3, those are challenges. They just beat Xavier. They're on a 3-game win streak. They beat Marquette 4 days from now. They could make the tournament. They beat Marquette. They win out. They make the tournament. But if they lose, they out. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, you guys. There is. There's so many teams out for this bid. for these bids. I mean, Drake's in there. Cincinnati's in there. Colorado's still in there. Villanova is somehow still in there. Ole Miss was like 20-0 at one point, and now they're not even in the tournament. Utah, I don't know why they're still in there, because Utah goes to Villanova, they have more than 10 losses. If you have more than 10 losses, you do not deserve to be in the tournament. I don't care about your name. I don't care about what. I'm a Duke fan. Even if Duke had 10 losses and they made the tournament, I don't think they should have made the tournament. No 10-loss team should make the tournament unless they beat the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, number 5, number 6 team. Let's say their resume is amazing. Like, they beat every top team. But let's jump into the top overall seed is Purdue. They'll play Merrimack or Norfolk State. Easy win. But they'll go to play either Oklahoma or New Mexico, which could be a challenge for them. I mean, they got an easy bracket. The biggest challenge in the Purdue bracket for me right now would have to be Alabama, sitting at number 3 right here. I mean, look, they have St. Mary's, Indiana State, and High Point in their regional. Easy Sweet 16 for Alabama. But a team to look out for in this one, too, another one, is Washington State, the number 7 seed. They beat Northwestern, they beat Marquette. I'd see them, an Alabama-Washington State Sweet 16 matchup. I think you could see that. And then we see Purdue versus Dayton? Or will Baylor prevail? A Purdue versus Baylor Sweet 16 or a Purdue versus Dayton? Or could we see a McNeese State go to this, win that region? I think there's a lot of sleepers in that Purdue one that got to be talked about. A lot of smaller schools in that division, in that regional for Purdue. But let's take a look at UConn. UConn, I think by the end of the season will be the number 1 overall seed. In my opinion, I think Purdue and them will keep switching back and forth. I think if UConn wins out, you're going to see it. I don't think Purdue is that good. I think UConn will win out. And I think UConn will be the number 1 overall seed when the tournament comes, when it comes to done. You got they play Eastern Kentucky easy. Then you have a Florida Atlantic versus TCU matchup. I think that is going to be one of the more underrated games of the year. I think that's going to be a great game. I think that needs to be talked about a lot more than what it is. I think that TCU is a team that if they show up, going back to if a team shows up, if Florida Atlantic and TCU both show up that night, we are in. Get your popcorn. But I don't think neither of them are going to beat UConn. I think UConn is on a mission again to prove to everybody that they are for real. And then, 1 minute, you guys. And then we got Texas Tech as the 5 seed going up against Samford. Texas Tech is another team that they've had these moments during the season that you're like, oh, they for real. But then they had these moments where you're like, what are you doing, Texas Tech? But lately, I gotta give Texas Tech some credit. They have been balling out lately, if I am correct. I could be wrong here. They're 19-7. No, they actually have been struggling. Out of the last 7 games, they've only won 3 of them. They need to win out. Texas Tech. They need to win out. They got UCF, Texas, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, and Baylor to finish the year. They need to win out to show me that they can make it far in the tournament. Because right now they could lose they could lose second round. I don't think they'll lose to Samford. Samford is a decent team this year, but I don't see Stanford making it out of the first round, but it is March Madness, and Stanford could have their day. They could have their day in the sun. Then we have this San Diego State-Yale matchup. Yale could beat San Diego State. Yale could. But I think San Diego State, they have too much firepower. Way too much firepower for Yale. And I think they will beat Yale in that. So I think we'll see a San Diego State-Texas Tech there. And I think San Diego State would beat Texas Tech. So you would see a UConn versus San Diego State Elite 8. Or Sweet 16, I think. Yeah, Sweet 16. So, UConn, San Diego State, that was the championship last year, right? The national championship? Yeah, it was. We could see a rematch in the Sweet 16. If this is how the bracket, which it won't be. This will get changed in 3 days. After today's game, it'll get changed. I just want to talk to you guys about it. See what you guys are thinking about it. If you guys got any comments, just let me know. If you guys got any questions. It's just my weekly show. I'm just gonna talk to you guys every week, every Saturday around. I'm gonna try to start going at 11. And I may even go live tomorrow too for college basketball. Especially I'll be going live every weekend, every weekend. I have to check my Instagram. Every weekend I'll be going live for college basketball until the end of March Madness, until the end of the season for college basketball. And then I'll be starting to go live soon for the NFL draft. I know that's coming up too, so I'll start going live for pick a day a week, and I'll pick a mock draft to look at and break down, discuss with you guys. And then, yeah, it's just a little update for you guys. That's what's in the works right now. I just got to figure out the days. Alright, so let's get back into this. Then we see Kentucky versus Grand Canyon. Then we have an Iowa State, Oklahoma in that Omaha bracket right there. Omaha region. Kentucky, Iowa State, round of 32 matchup would be insane. Would be insane. Then we go down to the Charlotte one. Let's just go down one more. This UConn bracket is up against UConn. They want UConn not to win it all. Because if you're looking at these teams, South Carolina, Nevada, North Carolina, Colgate, you have North Carolina, South Carolina, Iowa State, Kentucky, San Diego State, Texas Tech, Florida Atlantic, and TCU. In that regional, that could pull out, that have a team that could go decent, could go far in the tournament, that have a team. Let's go to the Purdue one. Baylor, Dayton, Alabama, Marquette, Washington State. I'm taking that UConn side of whoever makes it through that is going to win it all. Whoever comes out of that UConn, this UConn one right now, from what I'm seeing, whatever one comes out of that, whatever team makes it out of this UConn regional, they're winning the national championship. Whether it be UConn, Texas Tech, San Diego State, Kentucky, Iowa State, South Carolina, North Carolina, whoever it is, if this is what the bracket is, it's not going to be the bracket. But as of right now, I'm telling you guys, if the season stopped today and this was the bracket, that bracket is a juggernaut bracket where you don't know who's going to win those games because they're going to be so close. You're going to have a North Carolina, South Carolina most likely matchup in the round 32. Iowa State, Kentucky, if it all goes right with no upsets. Then a San Diego State, Texas Tech, a Florida Atlantic, UConn. But in my opinion, you'll see a UConn versus TCU, a Texas Tech, San Diego State. I do think that one happened. I think you will see a Kentucky, Iowa State. I don't think Grand Canyon or Oakland can beat either of those teams. But I do think you'll see a Nevada, North Carolina second round matchup. I think Nevada will be the upset team. I think they would pull off an upset. I think Nevada, they will because they're not really talked about. And South Carolina is impressive, but I've seen South Carolina lose by almost 30. I think it was 30 this year. So I don't see that. I don't see South Carolina. I think don't believe in South Carolina. But watch me eat my words right now. Let's see what South Carolina can do the rest of the year. But let's go down more in the bracket real quick. Let's go down a little bit more to Arizona. The Los Angeles bracket. We got Arizona going up against South Dakota State or Grambling State. Easy dubs for them. Easy dubs. Then we got a Texas-Boise State matchup. That's a great matchup. I got to say Texas would probably win that, so we would get a Texas-Arizona round of 32 matchup. Would be insane. Then we got a Wisconsin-Richmond matchup. I think Richmond would beat them. I think Richmond could beat them. If Richmond makes the tournament. Because that division, the A-10, is so clogged up right now. This is one of the most underrated divisions in college basketball. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. College basketball is one of the more underrated conferences to watch during the year. Like, I recommend you guys start watching more A-10 basketball. This conference is just, look at how close it is. UMass is in a conversation. They could, if they win the whole thing, if they win the A-10, I mean, my other question is, if Richmond makes it, should Loyola make it? Because they're the same record, and Loyola does have a couple good victories. Should Loyola Chicago be in the tournament? Yes, they should be. But we got to see what they do the rest of the season. We still have 3 weeks left in the year, or left in the season for college basketball. What will happen? There's so much to happen. I can't believe St. Louis. Last year they were good. Now they're 9-17. They suck. Okay, let's just go back now to this. Then we got an Auburn App State. Auburn, I think we would see an Auburn-Richmond second round matchup around the 32. And I think Auburn, if Auburn shows up, I think you will see an Auburn versus Arizona in the Sweet 16 matchup. I didn't think Auburn would go to the Elite 8. I think Auburn would win this whole one. Because I'm looking down, or no, maybe not. I think Auburn would make it to the Elite 8, though, out of this. If this is how it stands, I think Auburn would make it to the Elite 8. Because we got a Pittsburgh region right here. We got BYU versus Seton Hall. And Gonzaga. Or Gonzaga or Seton Hall. I don't know if BYU could beat either of those teams. I think they could beat Gonzaga. The Seton Hall they interest me. They have some wins this year that made me that made me be like, okay, like maybe you are for real. But then they had some losses that I think they lost their last loss. They lost to like Butler. We were talking about them earlier too. They lost to like, who was it? I said it earlier, and it just processing now in my head. Villanova. They lost at Villanova. That one, it's just like, you should have won that. You didn't just lose. You lost 80-54. Like, and then you go out the next one, you beat Xavier 88-70. And now today at 8:30 on FS2, you get a Butler matchup versus Seton Hall. That is the matchup that I can't wait to see tonight, to see what's going on. And we're gonna get into, we're just diving in the bracket. I gotta talk about that later, about games going on today. What games? Because I know we have a really good one right now. We have a Baylor-Houston matchup going on right now, you guys. But then we have a Creighton versus Charleston. I think you would see Creighton move on to the Sweet 16. I think they would beat all those teams, BYU or Seton Hall or Gonzaga. I think they would beat them too. Those three teams I think Creighton would beat, especially after Creighton dismantled the number one team in the country, UConn, or former number one now, because I guess Purdue is back to number one, supposedly. I don't see Purdue. I'm not going to lie. Purdue ain't that good, you guys. Watch Purdue lose before the Sweet 16. Unless they get an easy bracket. Or unless they'll give them Gonzaga treatment when Gonzaga used to be number one. They give them the easiest bracket. Then we got a Florida-Nebraska matchup and a 7-10 matchup. That one's a coin flip. Who would win that? Because Florida's been playing good lately. But they just lost to Alabama in a heartbreaking loss. So can Nebraska and Florida, are they real? Then we have a Kansas Eastern Washington. Kansas would beat them. But we could see a Kansas or a Florida matchup or a Kansas Nebraska matchup second round. That's a pretty good. So I think that region, it's pretty good. I mean, you do got Wisconsin, Richmond. I think that would be the upset. Wisconsin versus Richmond. I think Richmond would pull that upset off against Wisconsin because Wisconsin, they haven't impressed me. They have fallen hardcore. I'm still surprised that they're at a 5 seed right now. I would expect them to at least go to 6 or 7 because their losses that they had, they were really bad. But good to see them still up there. But I think you will see them slowly fall to like a 6 or 7 seed. Maybe a 7 seed. Or 8 the lowest. But let's go to the other side. We got Houston versus Sam Houston. Houston will get that W. Then we got a Utah State Mississippi State matchup. I think that could be better than most people think. Most people would pick Mississippi State in that. I honestly would pick Utah State to play Houston. I think that Houston-Utah State game would be an amazing game. Honestly, I think Utah State has the firing power. They have shown they just beat San Diego State. San Diego State was on this little run. And now Utah State's on a run of themselves. They're 22-5, you guys. 22-5. That is no laughing matter. They're 22-5. Then we got a Clemson going to be playing either Providence or Texas A&M. I don't know. That game right there, that goes to that BYU Seton Hall Gonzaga. I don't know. I have to do more research on that, you guys. I don't know for those. Like, I can't give my opinion on that because I don't really know. Like, both of those teams they have the potential. I've watched a couple of their games and like I was impressed. I've been more impressed with Providence this year. The Big East, like I'm saying, the Big East has been a whole conference that has made me be like, wow, like you are a good conference. You are a big conference this year. You're taking a step to show like it's not just one or two teams in this conference that are good. It's the whole conference, except for a couple like DePaul and Georgetown. We don't talk about them though. But then we see Illinois' Akron. I mean, I watched Akron game. They played, I think, Toledo last night, and they did beat them. I think they're kind of cemented to win the MAC. But they're not a bad team. They're not. I don't think they're beat an Illinois. I think they could beat a team like a BYU, like a team like that, like a Wisconsin. I think they would be able to pull off an upset like that, like a team that's kind of like BYU did just beat Baylor. I will give them that, but I don't really see BYU making a run. I don't. I can see them getting upset, like, and you're just like, wow. Then we see a Colorado State-South Florida matchup. That's a great game for a group of 5. I think that needs to be talked about a little bit more for that 6-11 matchup. Especially the way South Florida's been playing. They're on a run. They were down. They were up. Who were they playing? I think it was Memphis, and then they lost. They were up big, and then they lost. If I'm correct. I swear I'm right on that one. My memory is just bad, you guys. I'd be forgetting things. I'm going to get better at it. I promise. Then we got Michigan State, Virginia. That's a great game. Both teams this year. Virginia just lost to Virginia Tech by like 30. It happened a couple days ago too, and I remember I saw it and I was just like, I thought Virginia was like this team, like this under the radar team this year. They've been ranked throughout most of the year, and like I didn't even know they were ranked. And the next thing I know, they're ranked. Like I thought Virginia was gone. I thought they were done forever, or not forever, but like you know what I mean. And they're starting to fall again slowly. I think injuries are starting to riddle their team, sadly. But we'll see. Then we got Tennessee versus Quinnipiac. Yeah, that's an easy game for Tennessee. Quinnipiac is not that team. They are not them. So that is your March Madness bracket right now for Bracketology. I mean, there's a lot that's going to be changing. There's going to be so much more things that are going to happen for this bracket. Like, let's just take a little preview before we get into today's game and future games of today. Wow, Houston. Let's just talk about Houston. Wow. I'm going to talk about Sunday's game. We'll talk about today's games in a separate thing. Let's just talk about, we got tomorrow for a group of top 25 teams. We got Creighton versus St. John's. We got Purdue versus Michigan. So Purdue, that should be an easy W. They don't even have a point spread yet. That should be an easy W. And then we got Xavier Marquette. That could be a sneakily decent game. Marquette could lose that game. Like, I say that's an upset alert watch, and I think St. John's Creighton is also another upset watch alert. But the way Creighton's been playing lately, I think you could take that off of them. I think that's an easy dub for Creighton tomorrow at 12 p.m. What games are on tomorrow? What's on tomorrow night? Because why do the games stop at 5? Because it's a Sunday. Is there any, let's see, let's go to Monday. Let's see what we got Monday. We got Miami versus North Carolina, number 10 North Carolina. Baylor, number 11 Baylor versus TCU. I think both those games are upset watch games. We could see 10 and 11 go down the same day, and then tomorrow we could see number 7 Marquette go down. So we could see 10, 11, and 7 go down in a 48-hour period. And let's just talk about, we'll talk about today. Let's just go back to today real quick. Saturday, February 24, 2024. We have Houston versus Baylor. Baylor right now is down by, why the fluck? Flippity fluck. Houston, Baylor's on an 8-0 run. Houston calls a timeout. But say Houston holds on to this win. Baylor has to go play TCU next game, Monday. That's a must-win for Baylor. Then we have Vanderbilt, Florida going on right now. Easy W for Florida, should be. And then we got a Washington-Arizona matchup today. Arizona should win that one. They are a 16.5 point favorite. Then we have West Virginia versus Iowa State. Iowa State should beat them pretty handily. That should be an easy dub. Then we got a Duke Wake Forest. Wake Forest is favored in that. So that is a game to watch for at 2 p.m. That is a upset of watch if you are a bettor. And I don't think that's an upset watch. I think Duke, what they've shown me lately, I think Duke can beat them. And if Duke beats them pretty well in how they played their last game, you got to start putting Duke in that conversation to make a run. You do. Because Wake Forest ain't no team to no slouch. Wake Forest is a pretty good team. So I can't wait to see that game at 2, which is 45 minutes from now. BYU versus Kansas State. That's another game that we got to talk about. Because if Kansas State beats BYU, like I said, they right now are a 6 seed. They could fall if they lose this game. Out of the top 25, too. If they lose this game, they're out of the top 25. They're 25 right now. So, I'm going to be interested to see those games. And just to see. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be interesting. Then we got Iowa versus Illinois. 12. Excuse me, I apologize. If anyone has AirPods, then I'm sorry. I just burped in your ear. Then we got Iowa versus Illinois. Illinois just lost to Penn State. So can Illinois beat Iowa? Iowa has been known they beat Wisconsin. So Iowa can beat Illinois today. It's on the Big Ten Network at 2:15, exactly an hour from now. I'll be interested to see if Iowa can beat them. I will be. I mean, Illinois is a 9.5-point favorite right now, but I think you could see Iowa pull this off. I really do. I really believe Iowa can pull this off today. It'll be interesting to see if Iowa will be able to. Let's see. It's just one of those ones where we'll see. We'll wait and see if Iowa will be able to. But then we got a South Carolina Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 3.5-point favorite. If I was a bettor, I'm taking South Carolina to beat them. That's at 3:30 on the SEC network. I think South Carolina would beat them pretty heavily, and handily. But we can see Ole Miss. Ole Miss needs to win this game. It's a must-win. They are one of the teams that is not in the tournament right now. They are the second team out, I believe, if I remember seeing that correctly. Then we have number 10, North Carolina versus Virginia. That's an upset watch. That is a huge upset watch. It's at Virginia. It's at 4 p.m. ESPN. That is a upset watch. Yes, Virginia is not ranked no more, but they need to win that. That's a must-win for Virginia, and we could see so many upsets today, you guys. Because then we have Kentucky, Alabama. That is a game. Oh my God! I know my brother gonna be watching that. I know he gonna be watching that. I'm gonna be watching that. 4 o'clock, we get on CBS. We get an Alabama-Kentucky matchup. Understand how big that is in the SEC or in March Madness? That will show whoever wins that. Wow, that is just gonna be crazy. Then we have a Texas Tech, UCF. UCF's a favorite. UCF's the favorite in that. I swear to God, ESPN tries for all these upsets. But Texas, like we said though, we saw earlier, Texas Tech, they're not doing good. So I think Texas, Kansas at 6 on ESPN. That's another really good game. Kansas should beat them. But if Texas win, that could boost Texas up to the 7th seed. Then we have Auburn, Georgia. Auburn should beat them. Villanova, UConn on Fox at 8 p.m. That's a really good game. We have Texas A&M versus Tennessee at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Then we have Washington State, Arizona State at ESPN and ESPN2 at 8 p.m. Colorado State, UNLV at 8 p.m. on CBS SN. San Diego versus St. Mary's. No one really cares about that. Then we got Fresno State versus San Diego State. So we have a great day of college basketball, and it's a 6-point game. Houston still has not scored 8 point in the second half, you guys. Wow. But yeah, we have a lot of stuff going on this week. We have a lot of good games to look out for. And I just can't wait to see how many more good games there are this year. There's going to be so many more good games. 17-9. But the last subject I want to talk about with you guys is I saw today on College Basketball Game Day, NCAA president or CEO, where the fluff he is. It's been 40-something minutes. Where the fuck he is. He is now going to be trying to expand the field to a 96-team bracket. A 96-team bracket, he wants to do something like that. Why? Why are you going to change the 64? It's the best thing. NCAA just wants more football. More money. I apologize. They just want more money, and it's one of the last things I'll say on today's show. And then I may have a surprise later. I may go live maybe later tonight, or maybe I'll go live tomorrow. I'll just check my Instagram. I may have a little surprise. But yeah, I just feel like college basketball, keep everything the way it is. Don't try to change shit. It's college basketball. 64 teams. It's the best thing in sports. And you're going to try to change it. You already fucked up football, Baker, by giving NIL and that free reign of NIL. Don't fuck up college basketball now. Don't. But as I end today's show, I'm going to say this. Thank you guys all who have watched and who are going to be watching in the future. I will be back live for college basketball show next Saturday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if I go live tomorrow, I will announce it tonight on my Instagram. I may go live, maybe have a little college basketball show tomorrow. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Join the KBM Sports College family. And we see Baylor only down by 4 now on a 12-0 run. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Join the KBM Sports College family. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back in maybe a couple hours, or I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya!